Good evening, and welcome to our special financial report. Tonight, we turn our attention to Vietnam and its national currency, the Vietnamese Dong, a currency that continues to attract global interest as investors, exporters, economists, and currency speculators closely monitor developments across Southeast Asia. Over the past several months, discussions surrounding the future of the Vietnamese Dong have intensified, with many observers questioning whether the country could experience a significant currency adjustment, appreciation, or what some market participants often describe as a revaluation. While no official announcement regarding a formal revaluation has been made by Vietnamese authorities, recent economic developments have placed the Vietnamese currency firmly in the spotlight. Vietnam enters the second half of 2026 as one of Asia's most closely watched emerging economies. The nation continues to demonstrate resilience, despite a challenging international environment characterized by inflation pressures, geopolitical uncertainty, fluctuating commodity prices, and changing global trade patterns. Economic analysts note that Vietnam remains among the fastest growing economies in the region, supported by strong manufacturing exports, foreign direct investment, technological development, and expanding domestic consumption. The World Bank recently projected that Vietnam's economy would continue growing at a robust pace in 2026, reinforcing the country's position as a major manufacturing and export hub in Asia. The Vietnamese Dong, commonly abbreviated as VND, remains a managed currency under the oversight of the State Bank of Vietnam. Unlike freely floating currencies that fluctuate entirely according to market demand and supply, the Dong operates within a managed framework designed to support economic stability while maintaining export competitiveness. This policy has helped Vietnam become one of the world's leading exporters of electronics, textiles, footwear, furniture, and agricultural products. Recent attention has focused on exchange rate movements between the US dollar and the Vietnamese Dong. Market data throughout 2026 indicates that the US dollar has remained relatively strong against many global currencies, including the Dong. Vietnamese monetary authorities have continued adjusting reference rates in response to changing international market conditions. Analysts say these adjustments reflect broader global financial trends rather than any indication of a sudden currency revaluation. Recent reports show that the USD VND exchange rate has remained elevated as authorities navigate pressures associated with international capital flows, inflation concerns, and global monetary policy developments. Investors around the world continue searching for clues regarding the long-term trajectory of the Vietnamese currency. Many point to Vietnam's impressive economic transformation over the past several decades. Since the implementation of economic reforms known as Doi Moi, Vietnam has evolved from a low-income economy into a dynamic middle-income nation. With growing influence in global trade, the country has attracted substantial foreign investment from multinational corporations seeking to diversify supply chains and expand manufacturing capacity in Southeast Asia. These developments have strengthened confidence in Vietnam's long-term economic outlook. At the same time, economists caution that currency values are influenced by a wide range of factors including inflation, interest rates, trade balances, capital flows, government policy, productivity growth, and international investor sentiment. A stronger economy does not automatically result in a dramatic currency appreciation. Policymakers often balance multiple objectives, including export competitiveness, employment growth, financial stability, and inflation control. One of the most significant developments attracting attention this month involves Vietnam's external trade position. For the first time in nearly a decade, Vietnam recorded a trade deficit during the opening months of the year. However, economists emphasize that the overall impact on foreign exchange stability remains manageable. According to financial analysts, foreign investment inflows and other sources of foreign currency continue to provide support for Vietnam's external accounts. Experts note that while a trade deficit can place pressure on a currency, the broader foreign exchange picture remains more balanced than headline figures alone might suggest. Another factor influencing currency discussions is Vietnam's commitment to greater transparency in foreign exchange operations. Officials have announced plans to publish additional information concerning foreign currency purchases and reserve holdings beginning in 2027. Financial markets generally view increased transparency positively because it provides investors with a clearer understanding of central bank actions and reserve management strategies. Analysts believe these measures could strengthen confidence in Vietnam's financial system and improve international perceptions of policy credibility. Meanwhile, inflation remains an important issue for policymakers. Rising prices can influence exchange rate expectations because inflation affects purchasing power and investor confidence. Reports from regional financial observers indicate that inflation pressures have increased compared with previous years, creating additional challenges for authorities attempting to balance economic growth with monetary stability. Policymakers continue monitoring developments carefully as they seek to maintain macroeconomic stability while supporting growth objectives. Throughout financial communities and social media platforms, speculation regarding a major revaluation of the Vietnamese Dong continues to circulate. Some online commentators have suggested that rapid economic growth could eventually lead to a substantially stronger currency. However, mainstream economists generally emphasize that large and sudden currency revaluations are relatively uncommon in modern international financial systems. Instead, currencies typically adjust gradually over time in response to economic fundamentals, market conditions, and policy decisions. Experts explain that a significant overnight increase in the value of the dong could create challenges for Vietnam's export sector. Since exports represent a major component of economic activity, policymakers are unlikely to pursue actions that could sharply reduce international competitiveness. Many economists therefore expect authorities to continue favoring stability and gradual adjustments rather than dramatic exchange rate changes. Foreign direct investment remains one of Vietnam's strongest economic advantages. Major global companies continue expanding operations across the country, attracted by a skilled workforce, competitive costs, improving infrastructure, and strategic geographic location. These investments generate employment opportunities, support technological advancement, and contribute to long-term economic development. Continued investment inflows also help support foreign exchange reserves and strengthen confidence in Vietnam's economic prospects. International financial institutions have repeatedly highlighted Vietnam's resilience despite global uncertainties. While challenges remain, the country's economic fundamentals continue attracting attention from investors seeking growth opportunities in emerging markets. Strong industrial production, expanding exports, and infrastructure development projects have reinforced expectations that Vietnam will remain an important contributor to regional economic growth in the coming years. Currency traders are also closely monitoring developments in U.S. monetary policy. Changes in American interest rates can significantly influence capital flows into and out of emerging markets. A stronger U.S. dollar often creates pressure on emerging market currencies, including the Vietnamese Dong. Conversely, periods of dollar weakness can provide support for regional currencies. Financial analysts, therefore, continue evaluating global central bank policies alongside domestic economic indicators when assessing the future direction of the dong. In recent months, several forecasting institutions have released projections regarding the USD VND exchange rate. While forecasts vary, many analysts expect relative stability compared with the dramatic swings observed in some other emerging market currencies. Forecasts generally suggest that authorities possess the policy tools necessary to manage exchange rate volatility while preserving broader economic stability. These expectations have contributed to a relatively constructive outlook among professional market observers. Vietnam's long-term development strategy also plays an important role in currency discussions. Government plans emphasize modernization, digital transformation, infrastructure investment, green energy development, and advancement toward higher income status over the coming decades. Achieving these objectives will require continued economic reforms, productivity improvements, and integration with global markets. Many analysts believe successful implementation of these initiatives could strengthen Vietnam's economic position and potentially support the currency over the long term. Another notable factor involves foreign exchange reserves. While reserve levels fluctuate over time, strong reserve positions generally enhance a country's ability to manage currency volatility and respond to external shocks. Vietnam's decision to provide additional reserve-related disclosures beginning in 2027 has generated interest among international investors seeking greater transparencies regarding monetary operations. Market participants will likely monitor these disclosures closely once they become available. Financial experts caution investors against relying on rumors or unverified claims regarding specific future exchange rates. Currency markets are influenced by numerous interconnected variables, making precise long-term predictions inherently difficult. Responsible investment decisions should be based on credible economic data, official policy announcements, and professional analysis, rather than speculation circulating online. For businesses operating in Vietnam, exchange rate stability remains a critical consideration. Exporters benefit from predictable currency conditions that support long-term planning and pricing strategies. Importers likewise depend on stable exchange rates to manage costs and procurement activities. The State Bank of Vietnam's ongoing management of currency policy reflects the importance of maintaining confidence among businesses, investors, and consumers. Looking ahead, analysts expect several key themes to influence the Vietnamese Dong during the remainder of 2026. These include inflation trends, trade performance, foreign direct investment inflows, global economic growth, commodity prices, U.S. monetary policy decisions, and domestic reform initiatives. Developments in each of these areas could shape investor perceptions and influence currency market behavior. Recent statements from Vietnamese policymakers suggest that maintaining macroeconomic stability remains a central objective. Authorities have indicated that fiscal measures may play an increasingly important role in supporting growth while preserving monetary stability. This balanced approach reflects recognition that sustainable economic development requires careful coordination between fiscal and monetary policy tools. As the year progresses, market participants will continue watching for official announcements, economic data releases, and policy updates that may provide additional insight into the future direction of Vietnam's economy and currency. While discussions regarding revaluation remain popular among some investor communities, current evidence points toward a continuation of gradual policy management rather than a sudden transformation of the exchange rate system. Vietnam's economic story remains one of the most remarkable development narratives in Asia. The country's transformation from a developing economy into a major manufacturing and export powerhouse has earned international recognition. Strong growth, expanding global trade relationships, infrastructure modernization, and increasing foreign investment continue supporting optimism regarding Vietnam's future prospects. For now, financial markets appear focused on stability, transparency, and sustainable growth rather than dramatic currency adjustments. The Vietnamese Dong remains an important symbol of the nation's economic progress, and its future trajectory will likely continue reflecting the broader evolution of one of Southeast Asia's most dynamic economies. That concludes our special report on the Vietnamese Dong and the latest developments surrounding Vietnam's exchange rate outlook. Investors, economists, and market observers around the world will continue monitoring economic indicators and policy decisions closely in the months ahead. As always, official announcements from Vietnamese authorities and verified economic data will remain the most reliable sources for assessing future currency developments. Thank you for joining us, and we will continue bringing you the latest updates from the global financial markets as new information becomes available.